Rich man insulted waitress. Then discovered who she really was. She wiped away a tear as she placed his expensive steak in front of him, her hands trembling slightly. The words he had just spat at her hung in the air between them. Little did he know, tomorrow she would be signing the papers that would change both their lives forever. If you've ever wondered about the hidden stories behind the people who serve us, this one will leave you speechless. Like and subscribe to see more incredible true stories of unexpected twists of fate that remind us to treat everyone with kindness. The chandelier light caught the diamond cufflinks on Marcus Harrington's wrists as he gestured impatiently at the waitress. At 52, Marcus had the confident posture of a man who had spent decades being obeyed. His salt and pepper hair was expertly cut, his tailored suit worth more than what most of the restaurant staff made in 3 months. "Excuse me," he called out, his voice carrying across the upscale restaurant. Several diners glanced over, then quickly looked away. "I've been waiting for 15 minutes. Is competent service too much to ask for in this establishment?" The waitress hurried over, her name tag reading Emma. She was in her early 30s, with tired eyes that suggested long hours and heavy burdens. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and though her uniform was pristine, it couldn't hide the fact that it had been mended several times. "I'm so sorry, sir," Emma said, her voice soft but steady. "We're short-staffed tonight. What can I get for you?" Marcus barely looked at her as he ordered, rattling off specifications for his ribeye steak with the precision of someone used to getting exactly what he wanted. "Medium rare, and I mean actually medium rare, not medium, not rare. And the wine should be served at precisely 63 degrees. The last time I was here, it was practically room temperature." "Yes, sir. I'll make sure everything is perfect," Emma replied, jotting down his order. "See that you do," Marcus said dismissively, already turning his attention to his phone. As Emma walked away, she took a deep breath. 6 more hours of her shift to go, and then she could finally get home to her daughter, Lily. The babysitter was charging extra for late nights now, which meant even less money left over at the end of the month. But Emma couldn't afford to lose this job, not with Lily's medical bills piling up. The kitchen was chaos, as it always was during the dinner rush. Emma placed Marcus's order with the chef, emphasizing his specific requests. "Another demanding one?" asked Carlos, the head chef, as he expertly flipped a pan of sautéing vegetables. Emma smiled wearily. "Just doing my job." "You're too nice," Carlos replied, shaking his head. "Some of these people have never worked a day of real labor in their lives." Emma shrugged. "We all have our battles." She didn't mention that tomorrow morning, before her afternoon shift, she had an appointment that could potentially solve many of her problems, or create new ones. When she returned to check on Marcus, he was engrossed in what appeared to be a business call, his voice low but authoritative. Emma quietly refilled his water glass and was about to step away when he snapped his fingers at her without looking up. "The bread is cold," he said after ending his call. "And this butter is too hard to spread. Is this your first day?" "No, sir. I've been here for 3 years, Emma replied, maintaining her composure. "I'll bring you fresh bread right away." 3 years and still a waitress, Marcus scoffed. "Clearly ambition isn't your strong suit." The comment stung, but Emma had developed a thick skin over the years. What this man didn't know, couldn't know, was that she had once been on track for a very different life. Before Lily's diagnosis, before her husband had walked out, unable to handle the pressure of a child with special needs, Emma had been halfway through law school with a promising future ahead. "I'll get that bread for you," was all she said. As the evening progressed, Marcus continued to find fault with everything. The lighting was too dim, his steak was undercooked, it wasn't, the wine wasn't breathing properly. With each complaint, his tone grew more condescending. During one particularly harsh criticism about the speed of service, Emma noticed an elderly woman at a nearby table watching the interaction with a frown. The woman's eyes, sharp and observant despite her age, followed Emma as she apologized yet again and hurried back to the kitchen. "Don't let him get to you," whispered Diane, another waitress, as Emma leaned against the wall for a moment, collecting herself. "Men like that are miserable no matter what you do." "I know," Emma said. "It's just been a long day." "How's Lily doing?" Diane asked, her voice softening. At the mention of her daughter, Emma's face brightened slightly. "She's good. The new medication seems to be helping with the seizures. And she's excited about starting the new therapy program next month." "That's wonderful," Diane said, squeezing Emma's arm. "You're doing an amazing job with her, you know that, right?" Emma nodded, blinking back unexpected tears. "Thanks. I should get back out there." When she returned to the dining room, she noticed the elderly woman who had been watching earlier was now seated at Marcus's table. The woman's elegant appearance and the familiar way she spoke to Marcus suggested they knew each other well. "Marcus, I was just finishing my dinner when I spotted you," the woman was saying. "I thought I'd come over and say hello before I left." "Grandmother," Marcus replied, standing to kiss her cheek. "I didn't know you still came here." "Oh, I've been coming to Bellini's for 40 years, she said with a smile. "Your grandfather used to bring me here for our anniversary." She turned to Emma, who was approaching with Marcus's dessert. "Hello, dear." "Good evening, ma'am," Emma replied politely. "Would you like anything while you're visiting?" "No, thank you. I've finished my meal." "You've been very patient this evening," the woman said, her eyes twinkling knowingly. Marcus frowned slightly but said nothing as Emma placed his tiramisu on the table. "Will there be anything else, sir?" Emma asked. "This will do," he replied curtly. As Emma walked away, she could hear the grandmother speaking to Marcus in a low, disapproving tone. Though she couldn't make out the words, the woman's expression suggested she was not pleased with her grandson's behavior. By the time Emma returned with the check, the grandmother had gone, and Marcus seemed unusually subdued. He paid without comment, leaving exactly 15% for the tip, not generous, but not insulting either. Emma was clearing his table when she noticed he had left his wallet behind. She quickly picked it up and hurried toward the exit, catching him just as he was about to step into a waiting black car. "Sir! You forgot your wallet," she called out. Marcus turned, surprise registering on his face as he patted his empty pocket. "Oh. Thank you," he said, taking it from her. For a brief moment, their eyes met, and Emma thought she detected a flicker of something, embarrassment, perhaps, before his expression hardened again. "Good night." "Good night, sir," Emma replied, turning to go back inside. "Wait," Marcus said suddenly. That is, thank you for your service tonight. I was unnecessarily harsh." The words seemed to cost him considerable effort. Emma nodded, unsure how to respond to this unexpected acknowledgement. "My grandmother pointed out that I was behaving poorly," he continued, a hint of defensiveness in his tone. "She has strong opinions about how service workers should be treated." "She seems like a wise woman," Emma said carefully. "She is," Marcus agreed. "Too wise, sometimes." He hesitated, then reached into his wallet and extracted several large bills. "Please accept this as an apology." Emma looked at the money, temptation warring with pride. The amount would cover Lily's medication for the month, with some left over. But something in her refused to take it. "That's not necessary," she said. "But thank you for the thought." Marcus looked genuinely perplexed, as if he couldn't comprehend someone refusing money. "I insist," he said, holding out the bills. "I appreciate the gesture," Emma replied firmly. "But I was just doing my job. Good night, Mr. Harrington." As she walked back into the restaurant, she could feel his eyes on her back, confused and perhaps a little intrigued by her refusal. The next morning dawned gray and drizzly, matching Emma's mood as she sat in the waiting room of Harrington and Associates, one of the city's most prestigious law firms. She had been here twice before, each time leaving with more paperwork and less hope. Lily's medical condition required specialized treatment that her insurance wouldn't fully cover. After months of research and desperate attempts to find help, Emma had discovered a potential solution, a trust fund established by her late grandfather, which she had never known about until a distant relative mentioned it at a family funeral. The problem was that the trust had been mismanaged by the appointed trustee, her uncle, who had borrowed most of the funds for his own failed business ventures. Emma had been fighting to recover what rightfully belonged to her and, by extension, to Lily, but the legal battle was complex and expensive. Harrington and Associates had been recommended as the best firm to handle such cases, though Emma could barely afford their consultation fee. Today, she was meeting with the senior partner to discuss whether they would take her case on a contingency basis. "Ms. Reynolds?" The receptionist's voice broke through her thoughts. "Mr. Harrington will see you now." Emma stood, smoothing down her one good blazer, a relic from her law school days, and followed the receptionist down a hallway lined with impressive artwork and certificates. They stopped at a large corner office with a breathtaking view of the city. "Ms. Reynolds is here, sir," the receptionist announced, stepping aside to let Emma enter. Emma froze in the doorway as she came face to face with Marcus Harrington, the same man who had berated her over dinner the night before. He looked equally shocked, his coffee cup suspended halfway to his lips. "You," they both said simultaneously. The receptionist glanced between them, confused. "Do you already know each other?" Marcus recovered first. "We've met," he said vaguely. "Thank you, Jennifer. That will be all." As the door closed behind the receptionist, an awkward silence filled the room. Emma considered turning around and leaving, but the thought of Lily kept her rooted to the spot. This meeting was too important to abandon, no matter how uncomfortable. "Please, sit down," Marcus finally said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. His tone was entirely different from the previous night, professional, controlled, without a trace of the condescension that had characterized their earlier interaction. Emma sat, her back straight, meeting his gaze directly. "I didn't realize you were that Mr. Harrington," she said. "And I didn't realize you were." He trailed off, clearly unsure how to reconcile the waitress from last night with the potential client sitting before him now. "More than just a server with no ambition?" Emma suggested, unable to keep a hint of bitterness from her voice. Marcus had the grace to look ashamed. "I apologize for my behavior last night. It was inexcusable." "Yes, it was," Emma agreed. "But I'm not here about that. I'm here about my daughter's trust fund." Marcus nodded, visibly shifting into professional mode as he opened the file on his desk. "Yes, the Reynolds Trust. I've reviewed your case." He paused, studying her with new interest. "You were in law school when you had to withdraw." "My daughter was diagnosed with a rare form of epilepsy," Emma explained. "The medical bills, the special care she needed. I couldn't manage law school on top of everything else, especially after my husband left." Something flickered in Marcus's eyes, respect, perhaps, or understanding. "And now you're working as a waitress to support her." "Among other jobs," Emma said. "I also do paralegal work when I can find it, and I tutor on weekends." Marcus was silent for a moment, seemingly reassessing everything he thought he knew about her. "Your case has merit," he said finally. "Your uncle clearly violated his fiduciary duty as trustee. The problem is proving exactly how much was in the trust originally and tracking where the money went. I have some documentation from my grandfather's records," Emma said, pulling a folder from her bag. "And I've managed to trace some of the transfers my uncle made." Marcus raised an eyebrow as he reviewed the papers she handed him. "This is impressive work. Did you do this research yourself?" "Yes," Emma said simply. "As I said, I was in law school before Lily got sick. I still remember some things." For the next hour, they discussed her case in detail. Emma was articulate and well-prepared, having spent countless late nights researching trust law and precedents. By the end of their meeting, Marcus's initial condescension had been replaced by professional respect. "I'll take your case," he said finally. "On contingency." Emma's relief was palpable. "Thank you. This means everything for Lily's future." "I should be thanking you," Marcus replied, his tone thoughtful. "You've reminded me of something important." "What's that?" "That we never truly know someone's story until we take the time to listen." He hesitated, then added, "My grandmother would approve of that lesson." As Emma stood to leave, Marcus asked, "Will you be working at Bellini's tonight?" "Yes," she replied. "My shift starts at 4. "I'd like to meet your daughter sometime," he said. "If that would be all right with you." Emma studied him, trying to determine his motives. "Why?" "Because I want to understand the person who's inspired such dedication," he answered honestly. "And because I think I have a lot to learn from both of you." Over the next few months, as Marcus worked on Emma's case, a surprising friendship developed between them. He visited Lily at the specialized care center where she received treatment, bringing books and educational games that catered to her specific needs. Emma continued to work at Bellini's, though now with Marcus's help, she had reduced her hours to focus more on paralegal work at his firm. He had offered her a full-time position, but Emma had declined, not wanting to feel indebted to him. "You don't owe me anything," Marcus had insisted. "You're qualified for the job. In fact, you're overqualified." "Maybe," Emma had replied. "But I need to do this my way." He had respected her decision, though he continued to find ways to help without making her feel like a charity case. He connected her with resources for Lily's care and made sure her case received priority attention at the firm. The breakthrough in the trust case came unexpectedly. During a deposition, Emma's uncle broke down and admitted to not only misappropriating the trust funds but also hiding additional assets that should have been included in the trust. The settlement was substantial, enough to cover Lily's medical needs for years to come and allow Emma to finally return to law school. On the day the settlement was finalized, Marcus invited Emma and Lily to dinner at his grandmother's home, a beautiful historic house in the city's most prestigious neighborhood. "I want you to meet the person responsible for changing my perspective," he explained. "If she hadn't called me out that night at the restaurant, I might never have seen past my own prejudices." Eleanor Harrington was every bit as formidable as Emma had imagined, with the same sharp eyes that had observed her at Bellini's months ago. But there was warmth in those eyes as she welcomed Emma and Lily into her home. "So you're the waitress who refused my grandson's money," Eleanor said approvingly as they sat in her elegant living room. "That got his attention more than anything I could have said." "It wasn't about the money," Emma explained, watching as Lily explored the room with curious eyes. "It was about dignity." "Precisely," Eleanor nodded. Something Marcus needed to be reminded of. Marcus, who had been helping Lily examine an antique globe in the corner, looked up with a rueful smile. "Grandmother has made it her mission to ensure I don't become completely insufferable." "A challenging task," Eleanor said dryly, but with obvious affection. As they moved to the dining room for dinner, Emma noticed a photograph on the wall, a younger Eleanor in a waitress uniform, standing proudly outside a small diner. "You were a waitress?" Emma asked, surprised. Eleanor smiled. "For 10 years, while putting myself through college. That's how I met Marcus's grandfather. He was just like Marcus when I first met him, entitled, demanding." Her eyes twinkled. "I set him straight quickly enough. Grandfather always said meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to him," Marcus said. "Because I didn't let him get away with treating people poorly," Eleanor replied. "Just as Emma didn't with you." During dinner, as Lily charmed everyone with her bright observations and questions, Emma found herself reflecting on the strange journey that had brought them all together. From being insulted by Marcus to sitting at his family table, from struggling to make ends meet to having the resources to